Hi, my name is David Shapiro. I'm the owner and managing partner of the law office of David P. Shapiro, located in San Diego, California, where my firm helps good people regain control of their future when charged with a crime. In this video, I want to talk to you about what you need to know and what you should be doing and what you, most importantly, probably should not be doing if you're stopped at the border returning from Mexico and you're suspected of being DUI, or if you possibly have a warrant or you're informed about having a warrant, whether in San Diego or anywhere else in the United States. Well, generally speaking, the first principle is keep quiet. Don't necessarily give law enforcement any more information than they already have. And the second is if you think is that you have something going on in the U.S. before you return, it's always a good idea to reach out to a quality, locally experienced criminal defense law firm who could advise you accordingly about what, if anything, can be done to make that transition back into the United States smoother. So let's break down the first component of it, right? What do you do if, maybe, you're down in Baja, you're down in Rosarito, you're down in Tijuana, you're down in wherever, and you drive back into the United States and you get sent to secondary, and next thing you know, it turns into a DUI investigation. And you're sitting there on the bench, in San Ysidro, in Otay Mesa, in Tecate, and you're waiting for California Highway Patrol to show up. And an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, and then some California Highway Patrol officer shows up, starts having you do field sobriety tests, starts asking you all these questions about when your first drink was, when your last drink was, where you're coming from, where you're going, all those things. You don't have to do any of that. So when they ask you where you're coming from, it's obvious, Mexico. Politely decline to answer any questions. Where are you going? Politely decline to answer any questions. What have you had to drink? I politely decline to answer any questions. In fact, it's probably better you say it once and then just don't even answer the questions moving forward, right? Because the more you talk, the more you're going to have slurred speech. The more you talk, the more you're going to be mumbling, allegedly, so on and so forth. So when it comes time to ask you questions about that, you're under no obligation to answer any of it. You're under no obligation to do a field sobriety test, whether you're at the border or whether you're on the street in downtown San Diego. You're under no obligation to do a preliminary alcohol screening device test. Okay? If you're arrested, that's where implied consent comes in, where you have to do blood or breath. Otherwise, you risk basically them getting a warrant, getting your blood anyway, and then you losing your license for at least a year if all that's found true. So, even though you're coming across at the border, the same principles apply, right? Don't give law enforcement any more investigation material than they may already have. Keep your mouth closed and make sure you reach out to a quality, locally experienced criminal defense firm immediately upon contact, or as soon as possible, pretty much afterwards. The other issue is what we see a lot of times, particularly in San Diego, are people that may not know that they have a bench warrant for their arrest. Maybe they missed a court date. Maybe they don't even know about charges that have been filed against them. Maybe they have not done what they're supposed to do on probation, and there's a warrant out for their arrest, whether it's in San Diego, whether it's in Orange County, whether it's in Los Angeles, whether it's in the Bay Area, whether it's in New York. It doesn't really matter, right? Because if you come into the U.S. and you have a warrant, at the very least, you're going to be sent to secondary until they figure out what's going to happen with you, right? Are you going to get taken into custody until that warrant gets cleared, or is the state that has the warrant or the county that has the warrant says, okay, let him or her come through. That depends on the seriousness of the charges, but there's a lot that could be done before that moment. Sometimes we get a call and people are like, yeah, I'm on the borderline and I'm about 3 minutes away from entering the United States and I think I have a warrant. It's like, well, what do you think we could do with 3 minutes notice? The real issue and what you want to do in that situation is say, hey, I'm thinking about returning to the U.S. in a week. I believe I may have a warrant. Okay, that's where, as part of our case evaluation process, we'll walk you through that steps. We'll make sure whether you have a warrant or whether you don't. And if you do have a warrant, we'll go through all your options on what you can do to try and get that warrant addressed, possibly without even having to come back to the U.S. And if you are going to come back to the U.S., and if you are expecting to be taken into custody, we can advise you on the best day to do that, the best time to do that, and to have as much stuff lined up as possible to get you bailed out and back home, or most importantly, back out of custody at least, as soon as humanly possible. So I hope this video was helpful discussing what you need to know when returning to the United States, whether you have a warrant, whether you're accused of committing a crime, whether a DUI or otherwise. General principles apply. Keep your mouth closed. Don't give law enforcement any more evidence than they may already have against you. and make sure you hire a real good, locally experienced criminal defense law firm. The sooner you contact them, the better. Any questions about that or anything else related to criminal law in San Diego, feel free to give my firm a call at 619-295-3555.